Come along with me as we go out today. We're going to review situational awareness and things that you can use in your everyday life to help keep yourself protected. I'm Instructor Thompson in my self-defense studio, and I used to be a private security detail. And in that position, I trained multiple tactics on what I needed to be able to do to keep my principals safe. Let's go check this out. The first things I like to start off with before I even go out is having a belt clip for my cell phone, because I can attach it right here onto my belt and then record if I think anything is about to happen. Picking clothes that you can easily attach stuff on, and most of the time if it's got a clip, you can attach it to a waistband of most any type of coat where I've got a pocket and I can just stick it right there like that. Now I am going to be doing a video series on some body cams that I wear, and I have to tell you, they're really inexpensive and they're great options. However, a lot of times you can forget that at home, and that happened to me a few times when I was just going out in regular day-to-day life. But we almost always have our cell phones on us, and if you have any kind of inkling that anything is going to happen, any kind of altercation, any kind of fight, anything that has the potential to escalate, it's a really good idea for the aftermath to have a phone on you to start recording so that you can document that you didn't do anything wrong, because a lot of these situations end up going to court. And imagine I'm a big fan of having the Bluetooth headset in, because, of course, if I need to use a voice assistant, my hands are free. I can say, hey Siri, call 911. Now I can't do that while I'm recording, but you could do a body cam, and I am going to do a video on those. And if you don't do a body cam, you could also do a secondary phone. These are also just really, really convenient, because if I do have to call 911 and I am defending myself, I can be talking to dispatch and telling them this is what's happening, I am being attacked, we're at this location, and my hands are completely free to defend myself. Things I'm going to do is I'm going to drive around any public place I'm going, and I'm going to go to the back of the building. I know it's not always possible to drive around to the back of the building. If it's not possible to drive, you can also walk, but I'm looking for the exits. Where are the back doors of the building? Once I'm inside, I have a much better opportunity to be able to locate them, and I'm going to be able to know because I've already seen it from the other side. On the building, where all the back doors are actually physically located on the building. And this gives me a much better idea of the layout and where I actually am when I go around to the other side of the deli and reception. Right there, back to the generator room may not actually have an entrance from that side. You might only be able to access some doors from one side, but going around the building gives me the ability to locate these things. And I go to park, I want to pick a parking spot that I can either pull through or I can back up into. And the reason for that is I'm going to have to put it in reverse one way or another, either when I go to leave, and if I'm leaving it in a hurry, I may not be able to back out very easily, especially if a threat comes in the front door and a whole bunch of people are trying to leave at the same time. It's going to be difficult for everybody trying to back out at the same time. It's going to be a lot of panic. And in that kind of a situation, I want to be able just to pull through immediately or already be back to. I can notice just right off the bat, I cannot tell you how many people are just walking around with their cell phones in their hands, not paying attention to anything. Now, really doubt that much would actually happen in a grocery store, but it is one of those things that, you know, pickpockets and that kind of stuff still exists. But also, people would just be watching you inside to be able to follow you in the parking lot. So, when I get back to the car, one of my favorite things to do is I go to the passenger side. I go to the passenger side specifically because I'm likely to get carjacked if my keys aren't in the car, and I'm not even on that side of the car. Now, there is something to be said, of course, for going to the driver's side, because if you had to get in the car and drive off really quickly, you could. However, I'm not as concerned about that, not seeing a threat. I am more concerned about if somebody were to try to approach from behind. So I go to the passenger side, not the trunk. And what I do is I get myself back up against the door. Right here, having the door right there, I don't know if you can see the glass with how bright it is, but having the door right there gives me the ability to have the door on my back, and I can now load the car seeing everything. Now, I like to do this where I have my phone like this, because number one, it just looks like I'm on my phone, but number two, I can see behind me. I can see in front of me, and I can see behind me, which is really super helpful. And then I go get in the vehicle. And of course, as soon as I get in again, first thing I do is I lock the door. When I tell you the amount of people in there that had zero situational awareness, it's not even funny. Now, of course, they're in a public space. They're not thinking about, anything but what they're doing, right? Well, there was so many people on their cell phones with purses in the buggy there, and they're like leaving it there and just kind of walking it away. It was so crowded, like anybody could have came up and pickpocketing, anybody could have come up to those people and just grabbed wallets out of their purses. I was really surprised by how many people not only weren't paying attention, but by how many people were just leaving a lot of their stuff unattended. There's cameras in there, of course, so the supermarket isn't really one of those places that is super concerning about that kind of stuff, other than, you know, pickpockets and that kind of thing. It is the parking lot where we're going to have our major concern. The thing is, when bad guys are looking for people to victimize, no matter what they're going to do, doesn't matter if it's a random act of violence, which is pretty rare, but it does happen, or if it's just somebody who's looking to pickpocket or mug or do any of that kind of stuff, it's often in parking lots, gas stations, and it's out kind of away from where the cameras are. Now, a couple of things about that. We have the ability to look for these things too, but that's all these guys are doing. They're looking for opportunity. One of the major takeaways is that pretty much everybody is walking around on Sunday in yellow alert. They're not in that orange alert level. If you're unfamiliar with this, yellow is like you're sitting at home watching TV. Orange is you're scanning. You're out and about in traffic and you're driving, like when you're driving, you're scanning. And then red is, okay, it's fight time, and we know that there's a threat. It's been identified and it's time to either fight or flight. Now, unfortunately, I have heard a few stories where people were followed out from the store, and that's kind of more of the concern. Yeah, you could get a pickpocket in there, but it's that if something's going to happen, it's likely in the parking lot, and if they were watching you, and that's the thing, guys, is that's what criminals do. They watch and they look for opportunity. And so when they're doing that, they'll be watching you inside. They could be watching you from the moment you pulled into the parking lot. Don't want to assume anything, but I do want to have that orange level of alert, walking around, walking everywhere up and down the aisles, watching people's hands, making sure that I am just cognizant. And I made eye contact with several people, but there were several people in there that were so in their own world, they didn't even notice me. And I was walking right by them. The bad guys are looking for people who are not paying attention. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for people who are lackadaisical. They're looking for people who are just walking around in their own world on their phones, not paying attention. In summary, what do we have? Well, our phones are great devices to be able to start recording. If we have any kind of inkling that anything is going to happen whatsoever, we can just start recording so that we have it. If we have the ability to have like a belt clip on, put that on there, then both hands are free. You have a pocket where you can put your phone in. Also gives you both hands free. Extra little devices like a Bluetooth, because I can use a voice command and say, hey Siri, call 911. Gives me the hands completely free so that I can defend myself. We also have going around the back of the building. This is going to take 10 seconds. Now, if you can't drive around the back of the building and you want to know where the exits are, you can walk, and it's probably like a 5-minute walk around the whole thing, right? And if anybody asks you what you're doing, you can just tell them, my sensei said, always walk around the back of the building first in case there's an emergency, so I know where the exits are located. In anywhere, if you put your phone down and keep your eyes up, you're not going to look like an easy target. And that's one of these things that people are looking for. Bad guys are looking for crimes of opportunity. We have pulling into a spot or backing into a spot so that we can just put it in drive and go. So if I pull in straight and I can pull all the way through, I do that so that I have the ability to go out. Generally, watching where people's hands are, going to the passenger side, putting my back up against the door so I've got my whole back covered, loading from that side, locking the car, putting the trolley away, or if I think there might be a threat around, leaving the trolley, jumping right in the car and going. I might not actually walk around to that part of the car. I might leave the trolley there and then just climb through, close the door, lock it immediately, and I have the ability to just get myself in that locked car right away. I'm going to be making this an ongoing series with different things that we can do to be able to protect ourselves, and also different things and tactics that I learned when I was private security, and how situational, and up next in the next video is going to be spatial awareness, can help us defend ourselves. Hope you give it a try.